Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, I put out some new memes for you. I'll just let you get a look at them before we change it over. I like doing these things. They're funny. Melba toast. Yeah, gotta love that Melba toast. Fuck those guys. Fucking, at least Crybaby, the Kensington's out of there. Still got to deal with old Merrick Garland. That guy, listen to that guy talk. Jesus Christ. That dude. I mean, what a smarmy little man. And Adam Schiff. Shifty Shift. Jesus. California, what are you doing? What are you, and you know, then you got Schumer out there in New York. What are you doing, New York? What are you doing? What's going on here? How do you keep electing these fucking idiots? McGovern from Massachusetts, listening to him tonight. Everybody, they're all whining about everything. Oh, Tucker Carlson's lying to the country. He's not lying to the country. You know, I mean, he's showing video. That's it. He's just showing video that nobody has ever seen from January 6th. Like the video of the Buffalo shaman guy getting walked around the whole Capitol with the Capitol Police. There's a point in time in the video where he walks between, I mean, it's him and like 9 Capitol Police officers. This man's doing 41 months in Stafford, Arizona right now. Not a bad joint, but no joint's a good joint when you're doing time. I mean, and he didn't really do anything. He shouldn't have been in there. He was yelling and bellowing and shit. But I mean, nobody. Here's the thing. This is what's driving me nuts about this. All right, is these people. They're grandstanding on this thing, and they keep coming back to saying that there were actually cops that were killed, and they weren't. Okay, Brian Signick may rest in peace, and this is no offense to his family whatsoever. I feel for his family. It's a sad deal, but he passed away the next day, and he had 2 strokes. And they can say, "Oh, well, it was stress." Okay, well, okay, sure. But when you take that job on, you know there's going to be stress. You know, when you take on a job such as a firefighter, a policeman, you go in the military, those are stressful positions. You're not always going to have the best of circumstances. It's not like working an office job every day. You know, you're not going into work, knowing what to expect. And so I think that's, I don't know. All I know is what I've read from the reports from the medical examiner, and they said that he suffered 2 strokes the next day. Okay, so the only people that were killed on the scene was Ashley Babbitt and Roseanne Boyland. Rest in peace to both of them as well. And the whole thing with both of them was pretty fishy. Okay, Roseanne Boyland went down when the police were pushing the protesters back. Now, again, play silly games, you win silly prizes. I'm in no way advocating the shit that went down on January 6th. All right, I'm not. I think it was stupid. I'm not behind it. I think that you had a bunch of angry people that were incited, and it wasn't Trump that incited them. You had people like Ray Epps. You had the guy in the scaffold. And I think you had numerous others. Because when the question was asked to Chris Wray, when he was testifying, and they said, did you have undercover agents? And I can't answer that question. Well, if you didn't, you'd just say absolutely not. You'd say no. So he did. You know that they did. You know the FBI had. I mean, and the FBI has proven itself to be absolutely untrustworthy, politicized, and crooked as hell. Now, a lot of us have already known that. Haven't dealt with them. You know what I mean? But A lot of normal Americans don't deal with the FBI in their lives. Some of us do. I've been there. And they're a shady bunch. They're a shady bunch. They do what they do to get what they want, and, however they got to go about it. So, anyway, so we've got a lot of different underlying factors here. Okay, let's get back to the thing about the deaths, because that seems to be what they keep bringing up. McGovern from Massachusetts, I was watching him live just a little bit ago, and he's going off about, blah, 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 Tucker Carlson's a liar, and this. It's like, how in the world is a dude a liar for playing videotape? I mean, he was given over 40,000 hours of video. He's got video of the shaman guy walking through the Capitol, just walking right next to the cops. They're trying to open the door to the Senate chambers for him. Can't get one door open, they take him another way. They walk past a bunch of police officers that are just sitting there. Okay, so the building's been breached at that point, right? Like, they're in the building because the Buffalo shaman guy was like, he was the guy. Sorry, I got a different camera. I keep looking at the other one. He walks past, at one point, there's 9 officers, and it's him. Now, if he was so dangerous, I would like to think that 9 Capitol police officers would have the training to, take him into custody if they needed to. One would think. 9 cops and myself, they would be able to do that. And why would you fight that? I mean, if you're in that position, you're not going to fight it anyways, because all that means is you're going to get your ass whooped. He walks right past them. They don't even act like they see him. He just walks right through the middle of them, and they just keep on strolling, cold strolling. He goes into the chamber, he goes up, and he was, he gets up there, and it was kind of weird because he's got all kinds of Odinist tattoos, which I don't get, because he gets up there and he gets like a Christian prayer, and he's got a Volknot tattooed on him. He's got Mjolnir, which is Thor's hammer, and he's got Yggdrasil, which is the world tree, which are all tattoos that I have. But I'm an Odinist, and I don't pray to Christian God, So that was kind of weird. But he offered out a prayer, and he thanked, he gave thanks for the cops, for the police officers. I mean, it wasn't, and when I watched the footage, when the officers were in there, they're like, "Hey, come on now," because these guys are going through papers and stuff, and they're snapping pictures and that, and they shouldn't have been in there. I'm not justifying what they did at all. Did that dude deserve 41 months? No. Did those guys deserve to be stuck in that D.C. jail? I can't even call it a county jail, because D.C.'s not a state, so it's not county jails, and that place sucks. Trust me. I know dudes that were there. I've never been there, but I know dudes that have been in there, and they said it sucks. And these guys were like basically in the hole. They were being mistreated. They were, they weren't given, they weren't being given access to their attorneys. They were told if they did want to see their attorney that they were going to have these, different types of, I don't want to say retaliation, but consequences, I guess, I mean, it's to have those guys in there that long, especially after we had a summer where, I mean, how many people were killed? How many billions of dollars of property were burned down? Police stations burned down. Courthouses burned. People tried to burn down mayors' homes. I mean, people took over whole quadrants of cities. People got shot and killed, and no one did anything, Nothing happened. People would get arrested, they'd get turned out on no bail, and then you take these guys, and then they're going to say that they're right-wing extremists. Come on. And the crazy thing is that it turns out in the end is that these people were justified in their anger, because it's come out. It's come out. The collusion that happened was between the FBI, Twitter, Facebook. We still don't know about Google. There's where your collusion is. You know, I mean, the statistics show that 17% of the people that voted for Biden would have voted differently had they known that the Hunter Biden laptop was not Russian dis or misinformation, whatever the word of the day might happen to be. We never know. I mean, had they known, they said they'd have voted differently. Now, does that mean they would have voted for somebody else? I mean, it would have changed the trajectory. Had the public known, Trump would be in office right now. That's the way it is. That's just the honest truth. I don't care if you agree with me or not. You don't have to, but that's the honest truth. If you look at the numbers and you take 17% of the popular vote and you take it away from Biden, even if it doesn't go to Trump, Trump wins. So these people were right to be upset. Did they handle it correctly? Probably not, but people were right to be upset. Because everybody knew there was no way that Biden got that many votes. I mean, come on. That dude sat in the basement for 50 days before the fucking election, for Christ's sake. He didn't even campaign. Trump's selling out football stadiums. People can't get in. I mean, Biden's mathematically eliminated when I go to bed at 2 o'clock. I wake up in the morning, and all of a sudden he's up like 100,000 votes in different states and shit. And it's like, wait, what? Where'd this come from? I was like, I thought I stayed up until all the polling places were closed, at least I thought. But Trump had said that too. He said, what I fear is that, he goes, what I'm worried about is that, everything's going to shut down. We're going to be way ahead. And I'm going to wake up in the morning and I'm going to be behind. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, allegedly, there's school buses they found out in Arizona. I watched video of these guys. They were having a wedding for their sister, and these guys were like cleaning up afterwards, and they were throwing all the shit away from the reception, and they go out in the dumpster in the back, and there's boxes of ballots. We all saw what happened in Georgia, and they have their excuse for whatever that, boondoggle was, telling everybody to leave because of the toilets, but the toilets had been fixed the prior week, and all of a sudden they get the Republican people out of there and then just keep counting. I mean, I'm not on one side or the other of it. I couldn't care. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but it's crooked. That's where I'm coming from. Is it's crooked, and everybody puts so much sanctimonious bullshit into this right to vote shit. You should be seeing right now exactly what it means. It's nothing. It's up to them what they want to do with it. I mean, your sacred right to vote is just bullshit. It doesn't mean a thing. It doesn't matter. They can manipulate it any way they want. They mess with elections all over the world. Everywhere. It hasn't become apparent until, back with Mayor Daley in Chicago back in the day. There was a lot of fraud going on there, but that was a mayoral, election. That wasn't a presidential election. Who knows how long this type of shit's been going on? I mean, you had with George Bush Jr. and the guy that invented the internet, what was his name? Tipper Gore's wife. What was his name? Fathead. I invented the internet. I mean, they had the hanging Chad, the dimpled Chad, whatever, trying to count votes down there in Florida. I mean, that came down to it, And that was, what a horrible election. That was almost as bad as 2016 when it's between Trump and Hillary Clinton. I mean, I don't know. Who knows? If Hillary had won, I don't know. It would have been bad. But things are bad all the time anyways. And the president really they don't matter. They really don't matter. None of it really matters. It's all a joke. And once you get your head right around it all, you realize that it doesn't matter. That none of this, it doesn't mean a damn thing. These politicians, I get all wound up about them, but, they're going to do what they're going to do. They don't represent us. They don't give a shit about us. It's abundantly clear. Look at what's happened to those poor people in fucking Ohio. They had another train derailment out there, and they said, oh, no, there's nothing there. But all of a sudden, Pete Buttigieg was going to be there like the next day. It took him almost a month to get out to the other one that was nasty when these idiots lit that shit on fire. And then they said, oh, yeah, this one derailed, but it's, no big deal. They said apparently there's over 1,700 train derailments per year. I didn't realize there was that many, but they said most of them happen inside of a train yard, and it's not a big deal. They just get them back on the track. But how in the world, how are we doing this? How are we living in this day and age with all the technology we have? I mean, everything that we've got, the fact that I'm sitting here talking to you and you can listen to me right now is crazy. And we can't keep a train on the track. And then, I was watching this shit that Democrats are trying to grandstand about. Republicans taking liberty. It's like, shouldn't the fucking train company figure out how to keep a train? I mean, what do you really have to do to keep a train on the track? I mean, maybe you just take the rails and you put a little additional flange on them, and maybe a little extra flange on the wheels on the thing, and I don't know. Maybe you figure out how to load them. But they said they found a explosive device out there on those tracks too. So who knows? Maybe it's being sabotaged. That's always a chance. I mean, people do that to the pipelines and shit like that all the time too. So I don't know. I would hope somebody wouldn't do that, because I'm going to tell you what, we are going to face the repercussions of what happened in East Palestine, Ohio. That river supplies 10% of the drinking water. They burned that shit up. It went up in the air. There's been weather out there. It picks up with the clouds, dumps it back down. It's going to end up in the Atlantic, the Gulf of Mexico, and then it's going to end up in the Pacific. It's going to be everywhere. Once ingested, the stuff has a half-life of 7 to 10 years. It's not good. That's all I got to say. It's not good. And it's weird that we haven't come up with a better way to make PVC pipe than to use some chemical that has a boiling point of 8 degrees Fahrenheit. It's warmer than that here right now. So if that shit were, if I had some of that and I spilled it outside right now, guess what? It'd start boiling. And then you have noxious fumes coming off of it, But the thing is it evaporates off quicker than it does when you burn it. That's the problem. That's what these idiots did with burning it, Anyway, that's beside the point. We'll get back to the whole January 6th, since that's what everybody's going off about. You know what I mean? It's just stupid. And for the Democrats and the January 6th Select Committee with Adam Kinzinger and Liz Cheney and all these stupid, whatever the fuck they are, Adam Schiff, Mr. Standard Hotel hot dog pasta eating fucking weirdo. If this was such a bad thing, if January 6th was an insurrection, okay, let's talk logistically about this, okay? And I don't care what side of the fence you're on, all right? But here we are, okay? Let's talk January 6th. You have a bunch of Trump supporters, okay? What are their stances on shit? Second Amendment, First Amendment, right? Big time 2A, right? Gun owning Americans, right? I mean, excuse me for a minute. I'm getting a little dry. We're talking gun owning Americans, right? If they wanted to do an insurrection, would they not have been? I mean, if they were going to, the meaning of insurrection is like an uprising against a government or a power, right? And so if that's really what that was, and you're talking about a bunch of people that probably, who knows how many, between all those people that were there was a shit ton of firearms that were owned. They didn't take him in there. They could say whatever they want, but they didn't. I mean, I've seen the correspondence. There's people asking, and everybody's going, no, don't bring any firearms. So let me ask you this: if you're gonna pull off an insurrection, you're just gonna go mobbing up in someplace, and then go in and wander around and then fucking leave? bust into the place and scream and holler. And I mean, it was just a angry bunch of people. I mean, this is what I'm talking about. The masses are asses. And everybody wants to talk about how this was a threat on our democracy, but this was democracy because this is mob rule. And that's what democracy is. That's why I always say democracy is not a good idea. Because when you get a bunch of fucking stupid people together and you get them wound up on some stupid idea, they will do dumb shit. Undoubtedly. They will do dumb shit. You can count on it. That's why democracy is stupid. You know, everybody's, well, what do you want to be? No, I don't want to be a communist. I'm an anarchist. And I'm not the anarchist. You know, everybody calls these idiot Antifa fucking idiots anarchists. No, those are terrorists. If you're destroying somebody's property, you are not an anarchist, because that's not what anarchy is about. Anarchy is about respecting other people's persons, their private property, their personal property, and doing no harm. That's the idea with anarchy. It's got a negative connotation, right? Like when I say that, you just go, oh, anarchy. I mean, yeah, anarchy. It's probably the most reasonable outlook on. I mean, it's not even government. It's each person handles themselves, and you raise your kids to handle themselves and respect others. You know, you enter into your own agreements. You don't have to pay fucking taxes. Taxes. What a stupid shit to fucking deal that is. You understand that, folks? I don't think anybody understands it. I always say taxation is theft, and people always say, well, you gotta have taxes. Why? Because you're stupid? Look at your roads. Go out to Los Angeles. Go for a cruise. See how many potholes you hit. Ask my boy Joshua about that shit. Jesus Christ, he was popping tires all the time out there. Even here in Cody, it's getting bad. Like, there's spots now that I'm like out on Yellowstone and down on, there's places where there's bad potholes that haven't been fixed, and it's because they don't go out and plow the roads, you know. And that's, you know, I mean, so you think about your taxes, right? I mean, you're given what, 15-20%. If you're a middle class worker, whatever, 15-20% you're given to the federal government. You're given a nickel on every dollar to the state for your sales tax, right? You don't even think about that one, do you? They've got you conditioned already. Just consider that one just part of the deal. If you live in a different state, you know, California, I don't even know what they're at. I know when I was in Washington, it was 8.9%. And I'm sure it's up over 10 now. Especially up there in that nightmare. They ain't doing nothing with the roads, you know? And then they want to talk about, oh, it's for this and that, schools. And bullshit. The schools haven't changed. If anything, they've gotten worse. They've taken away music programs. They've taken away art programs. The teachers are paying to you know, bring supplies and shit in for different things that aren't being funded, you know. And we have just, it seems like just progressively shittier kids, you know. I mean, but that's our fault. Well, I mean, honestly, I mean, just to sit here and complain about millennials and Generation Z is just, I'm not going to do it. Because whatever we have with the younger generation it's on us, you know. I mean, all of us who are, you know, Gen Xers, you know, the boomers are on that one, you know. That's our parents, but, I mean, we've done this, you know. And we don't even know anything about our history. That's a sad thing. We don't know a thing about our history. We don't even understand. We want to sit here and say, and when I say we, I'm just talking about all of humanity, but I am obviously focused on, you know, America. But you understand the flag doesn't stand for anything. You understand that this country really didn't even last 100 years. Okay? 1871, February 21st. Done. They rewrote the Constitution. We became a corporation, an entity of Great Britain. King George also wrote a clause. I don't even know that we won the Revolutionary War. History has been written the way they wanted to write it. I would encourage you to look up some shit about for any of you out there that really want to get on that, I know a lot of you out there that want to get on that whole Star Spangled Banner shit about, football players taking a knee. I would encourage you to read every stanza of that. I would encourage you to look up the real history of when and how that song was written. And I would like you to compare that to what you were taught at school. Do some homework. That's all I'm asking. Just do some homework. And you tell me what you think. I know once I did some homework on it, I don't think too much of it. You ain't gonna, straight up, you're not gonna see me standing for that thing. You're not gonna see me pledge it. I'm pledging allegiance to this shit. That flag, it doesn't mean anything to me. It doesn't mean a thing. It's a piece of cloth. And you can say, guess what? You didn't have a thing to do with it. I didn't have a thing to do with it. None of us did. None of us had a damn thing to do with any of it. None of you were Paul Revere or Davy Crockett. Most of you were born in the, 70s, 60s maybe 50s, I don't know. You didn't have anything to do with it. You haven't had anything to do with much of any fucking thing. What movements have gone on in our lifetime? Occupy Wall Street. What did that amount to? It wasn't like we had a civil rights movement or anything like that. We didn't have anything to do with any of this. We can get all upset about Confederate statues, but none of us had anything to do with it. And none of us had anything to do with this. The color of your skin, you didn't have anything to do with that. You didn't decide that. You didn't decide where you're going to be born. You didn't decide who your parents were going to be. You just went and you popped out. And you were in the situation that you were in. And some of us got a better situation than others. And you can call that privilege, or you can call it whatever you want to call it. It's luck of the draw. And there's no equity. There's treating people equally, which you could call equality. Certainly. You can show empathy and you can treat people equally, but you should treat one another equally. I'm not saying anything other than that. I wholeheartedly believe that. I don't think that there's any man or woman out there that's any better or worse than I am. We've all got our flaws. We've all got our strengths, That's what makes the world go round. But the thing is we're not all going to end up at the same place at the end of the day, and that's what they call equity. It's not going to work out the same for everybody. It's just like when you go to a restaurant, right? Like, when a restaurant goes to shit is when they start tip sharing. That's when a restaurant goes to shit. Because now you're taking the server that works her ass off or works his ass off, whatever, and they bust their ass because they get to keep their tips. And then all of a sudden, they got to share them at the end of the night with the worst person on the staff. Where's their motivation go? See, that's what equity does. That's equity, right? And it's bullshit. Because what that does is that takes the person that is excelling, that takes the person that is exemplary and does a better job. Because if you work as a wait staff person, a waiter, but I don't see, I gotta think of the politically correct way to say it. If you work in the service industry, even as a bartender, right? Like, what's your motivation if you got to share tips with the spud that's sitting down at the end of the bar, like watching TV and talking with something, doing nothing? And you're busting your ass, you're hauling ice, you're making drinks, jackass is sitting down there doing nothing, and then you got to share tips at the end of the night? Guess what? How long does that last? Not very long. You quit putting in that work. So if you want to see a restaurant go to shit, go to a restaurant where they share tips. And you'll get the shittiest service ever. There was a restaurant here in this town. I used to love going in there. I always used to get the best service. I always had the same, same one or two servers. Tipped them well. They knew that I tipped well. I was in there 1 or 2 times a week. Great food, great service, great drinks. Everything was awesome. And then all of a sudden, the owner decides he gets this genius idea that he's going to do this tip sharing shit. And I go in there and I got one person seating me. And then I got somebody else coming out and taking a drink order. And then I got somebody bringing my salad. My salad tastes like, instead of my Caesar salad, it's got like, it's been like dunked in mayonnaise. Like the croutons are soggy. It's like fucking it's like not crispy. It's just gross. And it's like wilted lettuce. Like, get this out of here, Steak comes out, it tastes like shit, I mean, the baked potato comes out. It used to be a big fat. We used to call them baby head potatoes. Come out big, huge baked potatoes stuffed with bacon and chives and sour cream and cheese and shit. Just awesome, just good fat boy food. Comes out and it's just shit, and it's like, what the fuck happened here? I mean, the place just went to trash. It was like, I haven't been back. It's under new ownership. I don't give a shit. I mean, any place that does that tip sharing shit, I really don't want to go eat there. That's what your equity is, okay? That's not equality. Equality is when you have the right to make your own, like if you work in that industry, that you have the right to keep your own tips. When they tell you at the end of the night, after you bust your ass, that you got to sit there and you got to split your money up with some spud, nah, that's bullshit. And that's equity. That's not equality. Equality is starting at the same place every night. And do you know how service people, I don't know if y'all know this, but anybody that's worked in the service industry, you know that you don't get paid, right? Like, I don't know what the rate is here, but it used to be like $2.35. They get away with paying you less than minimum wage. Why do you think they did that? Why do you think tipping started? Why do you think they don't tip in Europe? Wrap your head around that one. Put it in the comments if you got an answer for me, because I'm not going to give it to you. You tell me what you think. I'm going to put that question out there for you. That's a little history lesson for you right there. Let's see who can figure it out. How about that? That's your poll question. I'm going to put that on Spotify too. So think about that. If you're listening, all my 2.3 listeners, answer that. Answer me that. Tell me how come service, wait service, like servers only get paid, $2.35 an hour. I don't know what it is. Like I said, it's maybe $4 an hour now. I don't know. But think about it. Look it up. You have the world of information right in your hand. Everybody does. That's what drives me nuts. We've all got the world of information in our devices, and nobody looks it up. Everybody's just content to watch Netflix. Netflix and chill or play video games. Dude, get rid of the video games. Get rid of them. Dude, get them out. Go sell that shit. Get rid of it. It's dumb. You're fucking yourself off. Video games ain't gonna do shit. You're the one living in a video game. You're already in a video game. Just play the video game of life, all right? So the flag stands for nothing, all right? You can say whatever you want. You can get pissed at me. You can be upset. You can stand up and stomp around. I don't give a shit. It doesn't mean anything. You had nothing to do with it, okay? You had nothing to do with any of this nationalism, this idea of proud to be this, proud to be that. Dude, you didn't have a thing to do with it. I'm just being honest. Just being honest, okay? That's it. So we're going back to the January 6th bullshit, because that's apparently the fucking thing now. Because we went from being balloons to now it's the fact that Kevin McCarthy gave all this 40,000 hours of footage to Tucker Carlson, who, I'm sorry, but Tucker And you can say whatever you want, but Tucker is one of the best journalists of our time. Okay? He has done things that have been completely against what you would think Fox would even put up with, and he's managed to keep his job. I mean, he's had shows where I've gone, oh, Jesus Christ, he ain't going to be around long. He doesn't care. He's fearless, and he calls it how he sees it. Yeah, sure, he leans conservative, but when did being conservative become a bad word? Just like when did being liberal become a bad word? I've got both of those traits. I mean, I think that people should be allowed to I'm all for same-sex marriage. It's fine. Marriage to me is stupid anyways. So I don't give a shit about that. I couldn't care less. If you're happy, you're happy, man. It's your life. It ain't my life. It's your life. You know what I'm saying? So what? I don't have any right to tell you about what to do with your life. So I mean, some of my favorite journalists. I mean, you've got Glenn Greenwald, right, the founder of The Intercept, that left from being censored. You got Matt Taibbi, but now all of a sudden he's in trouble because he took the Elon Musk Twitter files and he released those, just like Tucker's releasing this shit from the fucking J6 bullshit. Aaron Monte called out the Russiagate shit. Won an award for that. Max Blumenthal did the same thing. Greg Palast, Kim Iverson. Kim Iverson's awesome. She's a great journalist. She has a really awesome show. Check her out. I mean, you notice I didn't name anybody from MSDNC, ABC, NBC. Yeah, no, they're not journalists. They're bullshit. Those are or how Cenk Uygur and Anna Gasparian garbage. They're such they're terrible. I wouldn't throw a fucking Tijuana street taco at fucking Cenk Uygur. That guy's a fucking dipshit. Just when you think he has gotten stupid as he could possibly be, he comes out and just fucking blows that shit out of the water and just, you're just like, wow, he just got dumber. Same with Anna Gasparian. Dumb. Jimmy Dore's up on that list. Jimmy Dore's a pothead fucking comedian out of his garage. He's a better journalist than those people. All these idiots, that Morning Joe guy or whatever, they're terrible, horrible. People on CNN, garbage, garbaggio. I was watching, a couple idiots. Who was it? It was one of the Wayans brothers today. I mean, they're calling Tucker Carlson a liar because he's putting. Okay, so how come when the Unselect Committee puts out their cherry picked videos, that it's all truth and it's all fact? But I mean, all the video is true. I mean, it's not like it's been tampered with. I mean, what are you going to do with it? He just put it out there. There's 40,000 hours, 44,000 hours. You know what? I did the math on that, and that's over 5 years of straight watching to catch all that. So how are you going to sit there and cherry pick all that? You can't. He's just putting stuff out. I mean, Tucker's just going through it, and he's just like, here, look at this. This caught my... I mean, and we deserve to see it. That's our building. Think about it. The Capitol, that's our building. Those are our elected officials. They're supposed to be there for us. If it was such a horrible day, if it was a day that was, as they said, well, the only thing worse for our democracy was the Civil War and 9/11. Come on. Really? Nobody, two people died. Ashley Babbitt and Roseanne Boylan. Rest in peace, both of you. And no offense to either of your families. Roseanne Boylan was seen getting beaten in the head with a stick. A stick. Not a police baton. A stick. Like from a tree. Like a tree branch. When she was down. They said it was a drug overdose. And she took Adderall for ADHD. If you take a daily medication for something like that, you're not going to overdose on it. I don't even know if you can overdose on that shit. I don't know. I don't know. But the secondary medical examiner said no, she died of asphyxiation. And it was because all the kinds of people got pushed on top of her. And her friend was trying to get him off. And she got beat with a stick by a Capitol police officer. Nobody said anything about that. The other one was Ashley Babbitt. She was the first one to try and go through that double door. But the funny thing is, and this is not, I mean, it's not funny, but the ironic thing is there was cops right there. There were like Capital City Police, and then in the stairwell right behind her, there were two dudes that had the tactical gear, the vest, the rifles. They were right there. And Michael Bird, you see his gun come out from around the corner, and he shoots her. And they said, "Oh, he shot her in the shoulder." Who you've ever known that's died from getting shot in the shoulder? Doesn't happen. Your shoulder is that shit's it's bone. It's gonna hurt, but it's bone. It's sinew. You don't have. There's really nothing. Your veins run down, your arteries to your arms. They're running this way, underneath. You get shot in the shoulder. I mean, yeah, it's gonna sting, but it's not gonna kill you. I don't know a single person ever that's been shot in the shoulder that's died. She got shot in the neck. I've watched it. I've broke it down. I've put it on Final Cut Pro. I've broken it down frame by frame, zoomed in, looked at it. She got hit in the neck. Blood everywhere. There was two tactical dudes, two SWAT cops right behind her, and there was two other cops right there. There was cops up on the other side of the double door. Why didn't anybody else shoot? Michael Bird goes on national TV saying, "Oh, I'm convinced that I know that I saved countless lives that day." Well, why'd you only fire once? Why'd you only fire once, fool? You come around the corner and you shoot a female in the neck, and that's it. That's the only bullet. Why didn't those other dudes shoot? Have you ever seen a situation in which one cop, when there's a bunch of cops around, one cop fires and the rest of them don't unleash? No, typically that is not how that shit works. And there was a stairwell full of people. So if he felt like he was saving everybody, saving lives because he shot her, but yet he didn't shoot anybody else, then what the fuck was going on here? This guy had been in trouble. He'd had disciplinary problems with his firearm. But yet he was allowed on the scene that day, and they knew things were going to go sideways, and that's a guy that they had out there. I mean, you can watch the footage. I can pull it up and play it for you, but you won't see it very well in here. But look it up. I mean, all you got to do is type in Ashley Babbitt, and you'll see. The dude wasn't saving countless lives. The dude freaked out, and then he shot somebody, and then he realized it. Because there were. I mean, if you look up the hallway from the footage, there's cops up the hall. Nobody got a gun pulled. Like I said, find me a situation. I mean, I've watched video where I watched one where there was a black man in the street. This man was obviously mentally ill. He was having a bad day. He was having problems. He had a fucking steak knife. He's out in the center of the street, and you got these cops surrounding him. And this dude, he's bugging, right? Like, you're telling me you can't take a steak knife from a dude when you got that many police? Come on. This dude's standing out there. I mean, this is more of a dangerous knife. I mean, that's more dangerous than what that dude had, right? He's out there with a steak like this. One of the cops loses it. Bam, opens up. They turned him into Swiss cheese. It was the saddest thing I've ever seen. There's no reason for it. Why didn't that happen on January 6th if it was such a fucking insurrection? And nobody that came in that building had firearms. Like I said, these are gun-toting Americans that believe in the Second Amendment. They all have guns, and they all agreed not to take them. So I think they were just sending a message. They were pissed off. They got aggravated. They got incited. I'm not condoning it. But look at how upset people got in the summer prior to that. And I can understand that too. Not to burn people's businesses or people's homes down and kill people or anything like that. I don't think there's any time that like that type of violence directed towards innocent people just because you're a group of somebody that's affected by something, that your anger should affect innocent people. I mean, there's righteous retribution. You know what I mean? Like if you feel like you got to get revenge, say somebody kills a family member of yours or whatever, and you feel like you got to do something about it, that's one thing. But just to go into a community and just, I mean, you had, that the summer after George Floyd's death, you had, people sitting there eating dinner and bullets flying through their homes, I mean, you had, pieces of city blocks being taken over and turned into autonomous zones and shit. And then people were dying in there, innocent people, kids. No, we went wrong somewhere here. We went wrong, and and it doesn't have anything to do with it. It's nothing to do with race. It's nothing to do with anything other than the fact that we're fucked up. I mean, we've gotten so sideways on this this politicization of everything. If it's like, oh, if you don't have a D or an R, then, fuck you. And I get it all the time because I'm not on either side. So I get it from each side. I get that. Sometimes I'm a libtard. Sometimes I'm a fucking neocon. Because I don't think that little kids should be like, have their genitals mutated and mutilated and be put on, medication that blocks them from becoming a fully functional adult. I'm sorry, I don't think that kids should have puberty blockers. I'm not all about changing nature, And if you think that I'm fucked up, then go and read some accounts of some people that have gone through it, and you tell me what you think, and you look at the suicide rates, and you tell me, I don't give a shit. I don't care. You want to go from Sam to, Samantha, fine. Whatever. You want to go from, whatever, Barbara to Bruce. All the best to you. I don't care. I love you just the same. It doesn't matter to me. But, like I said, the one thing I'm not going to do is call you a plurality, and I'm not going to play the 140 pronoun fucking game. You want to be a he, you want to be a she. I'm not going to call you them. It's grammatically incorrect, and you can't be that. I'm sorry. But I don't mind. I don't care. You can be he or she. That's fine. I don't give a shit. Caitlyn Jenner's a she. It's fine. RuPaul, she. I don't care. Doesn't bother me. Doesn't affect me in the least little bit. But I'm not going to go with the Jinping, whatever the fuck. How many of them are there? 140, 150, who knows? There's probably 400 of them now. And this is what we get upset about. This is what we get upset about, is things like this. It's absolutely ridiculous. And we're teaching our kids shit in school that they have no clue. Most of you don't even know. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be insulting. But most of you out there don't understand a thing about, it's not even a country. It's a corporation. So until we can move on, if anybody's listening, I would encourage you to look up February 21st of 1871 and see what happened there. And see what that did to you. And then I would implore you to ask the question, how come every time you get a bill in the mail or any kind of legally binding document that your name's in capital letters? I'd implore you to look and see what your birth certificate's all about. These are just questions, people. I'm just putting it out there to you. Until you look into these things, you have to ask questions. Always. You have to think critically about everything. You can't just take what somebody tells you and put it in the bank. Because everybody's got a motivation. And I'm not saying school teachers are bad people at all. They're great people. For the most part, I've had some bad teachers, but most of the teachers I know, great people, but they've been inundated with the same bullshit, and while they believe with the absolute fullest of their heart that they're doing a good thing, they don't understand what they're perpetuating. And that's not to be insulting or anything like that. I got nothing but love for the teachers. I think you guys have a tough job. I can't even imagine being a teacher and having to deal with these kids. I can't imagine being a teacher and looking down the roster at a day and going and seeing my last name come up and then looking at my son and going, you know, you related to Mike, and then, you know, he's my dad, and, you know, I mean, and they had to go to school with me for like 13 years or whatever, and then now all of a sudden they got my son, my kid in class. I mean, you know, I can't even imagine being in that situation. I can't even think about that. That would suck. I mean, can you imagine? You're sitting there and you're going through doing roll call, and you see the name of some kid that this was just the biggest shithead ever that you were in school with, and all of a sudden now you got their kid in your class and you got to deal with them, and you're like, oh fuck. Tough job. That's a tough job. So I'm not coming down on teachers at all. I think that they have I mean, there's no other way that you get into that profession without having good intentions. But the pathway to hell is paved with good intentions, you know? I mean, we got to look at what we're teaching kids and what we're doing with what we're teaching ourselves, right? I've had to go through a whole re-education myself. I mean, it's taken a number of years. I'm pushing 50. I'm you know, I mean, shit. I'm over halfway through it, and I'm still learning every day, figuring things out, you know? I can't imagine what it's like with these youngsters and social media and all this bullshit. I mean, at least they got the information. That's what I always tell my son. It's like, you got every bit of information you could ever want. I think we got the Funk and Wagnall's encyclopedia. You just sit there and thumb through that thing, and Jesus Christ. That's where your information came from. I mean, when I was in college, that's how we wrote papers. You'd go in there in the library, and they'd be like at midnight or whatever. They'd be, get out of here, you know, chasing your ass out. And you're sitting there fucking thumbing through an encyclopedia. You're thumbing through a reference book or something, trying to write shit down, and they're fucking chasing you out the door. Now all you got to do is just flip your phone on. It's right there. Now all you got to do is just get on there and go to GPT and just say, write me a 12-page paper about, you know, whatever. Fucking... you know, Bolshevism or whatever the fuck you want to write about. It doesn't matter, you know. It'll write you a damn paper. And it's got the ability to write a paper that doesn't look like it's been plagiarized. Joe Biden could have used that a number of times, I think. Probably even now. I don't think he's written a thing on his own. I love getting on Twitter and just hammering down on Joe Biden. I'm sorry. I know it's not him that writes this shit. He's got a terrible, terrible, terrible staff. The shit they put out, there's no way he writes that. I just love it when I see a tweet from him, and I just like to get on there. I wish that I could do like a diatribe, but I always do that, so I don't know. I got the gift of gab. I'm too wordy. I start writing and it just doesn't end. Hence all the words tattooed all over myself. But anyways, I don't know where else I was going to go with this tonight. Let me look through my notes up here and see what else we got. We were going to talk Tucker. We talked about the flag. We talked about Ray Epps. We talked about Ashley Babbitt. And at the end of it, it says, wrap it up. It's over. So I guess we're going to wrap it up. It's over. On that note, love all y'all. Be good to each other, okay? From 52 miles east of Jellystone Park in Coyote, Wyoming, I'm your host, Mike File. I'm going to be changing the name of this thing soon and doing a whole new format, but that's, you know, maybe a week or so out. So be good or be good at it. In all things, be kind and do no harm. Peace out. If I can figure out how to use this thing.